All right. Welcome everybody to the show. Today I have frontman and leader of the band Diabology coming out of Los Angeles. His name is Jesse Bergen. How you doing, Jesse? Welcome to the show.
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Hey,
Excited to be here.
absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you, man. Let's talk about Diabology. How you're the leading member of the band, right? You're the original.
Yes, I am the only. Yeah, I'm the only original member.
What did it start off as? How many have people come and go with bands, right? You know, Josh Homme is the only original with Queens of the Stone Age. So you got the Shared Songs for the Deaf.
Yeah.
How long has the band been around for? When did you start it?
So we started in the summer of like 2016, I think. Growing up, my parents were both in bands themselves, like way before I was born.
Nice.
And so then after I was born, I kind of grew up surrounded by, metal and rock and all that. And
That's cool, dude. That's cool, man. What'd your parents do? Did your dad do like guitar? What would they do?
yeah, my mom was a bassist and my dad was a guitarist.
What? That's insane. That's so sick.
Yeah, no, it was nice. It's really cool again to like grow up surrounded by the music and stuff. And they encouraged me to pick up music myself. And they started sending me to the School of Rock program. And so that's where I learned to like, play music and, play metal and all that.
That's so funny. I went to School of Rock like maybe 10 years ago with my buddies, and I wonder if I ever like ran into you. I don't know how old you are, but that's insane.
Huh. Yeah, no, that is crazy. I I actually teach at School of Rock now.
Do you really? What? So I didn't actually attend the school. My best friend was in a band in school, and he was going for years. His parents would take him, so I would tag along just because I played music, but I couldn't pay for that. I was like I wasn't from that side of town, and so he was just like, come down, hang out, and maybe you can sign up or something. And I got to know a lot of the people there, but it was a really cool place just for everybody just coming together. The musicianship was great.
Yeah, no, it really is. And yeah, much like you, we actually found like this wonderful like charity organization. They unfortunately disbanded, but they helped me pay for like the music education. So the Rock School Scholarship Fund, I'm infinitely grateful.
So you got us like a scholarship. You got like some type of scholarship.
Well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a very like high bar for entry, but
Still awesome.
yeah,
Still cool.
no,
Nice, man. Nice.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I attended the School of Rock for like 6 years, 7 years, something like that. And it's it is a great program, but all they do in there is covers. And so eventually it got to the point where I was like, I'm kind of sick of just doing covers. I want to make my own music. And so me and a few friends from the School of Rock who were also, like metalheads with, similar music tastes, we all just got together and started jamming. And that is what eventually became this band, Diabology.
That's awesome, man. That's very awesome. So you started off with covers, though. Covers are a great place to start because you really learn where to take a song. You can really spend a lot of years just fiddling, and you got to figure out like how songs work. And it's not as it's difficult, but you sort of understand like where you're supposed to be focused on versus like noodling on the same thing for. So that's a good place still,
Yeah, no, it's a good way to get like different techniques and kind of figure out like,
But you got tired of that right away. The creative juices were flowing, and you were like, "We got to start something."
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, it was like probably 6 or 7 years of the School of Rock. But yeah, eventually it was at the point where, yeah, I felt like I wanted to move on to my own creative work.
So you were jamming out at someone's garage. Were you doing it at the School of Rock? Were you guys just sort of staying extra hours? What were you guys rehearsing for the group?
Yeah, so again, I'm, super, super fortunate for this opportunity. My dad actually works at Center Staging, which is like a big studio like out here in Burbank where they do like big productions. but we're super fortunate because they do like Justin Bieber size stuff, like, you know, huge things. And they actually, since my dad worked there as just like the general manager, they let us take rooms, but only if there's not like a paying client. So it was always like, you know, literally it could be like day of the rehearsal and be like, oh, Kesha wants to rehearse last minute, too bad. But still, we got to rehearse in this giant space most of the time. And whenever we didn't, we would actually just rehearse here in my living room.
So you had the space unless Justin Bieber showed up and had to record the album. But besides that, you had the whole studio to use and record for yourself.
But yeah, they had like 12 rooms, and as long as one of them was open, we were able to just slip in.
That's awesome, man. And you know, a lot of people hate on that sometimes. They can get really jealous of that, but that's so fortunate. That's so awesome because you grew up with parents who were musicians. You were able to stay in the right path and just keep it all together. You know, if you're a musician that's lost, you can really get distracted really easily. And for you, it's like you kept it down to the, you know, I forget Jeff Beck's bassist's name that I saw him at Ronnie Scott's, but she kicks ass. I forgot her name, man, but it's awesome to see like the musicians that just work with other musicians and just put out great work. And sounds like for you, you're lined up to do exactly that. You can just run into someone who's there and say, yo, man, you want to play? I don't know. I feel like you're in the right space for things to happen. Even your music, you know, it sounds a lot better when you have this equipment you can probably record with and stuff too.
Yeah, no, I am, you know, very aware that I'm, you know, very fortunate and privileged, and I mean, that's a, you know, like my mindset is always just like I have, you know, so many opportunities, like, you know, I cannot like waste them, like, you know.
Don't waste them, man. Take them. Just keep working on the music. Put it out. I think just sometimes people get that analysis paralysis. They just sit on music. Unfortunately, I have a lot of friends who have sat on stuff that, man, like maybe 8 years ago, I was like, put this on Apple Music, now SoundCloud, and they're like, it's not ready. And I'm like, dude, I would have played that maybe 1,000 times myself, just as saying, you know, you put it out. And I understand it because I'm the same way. I have years of music that I should put out, so I'm no different. But I'm a filmmaker, I'm an actor, I have music, but, you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
Nice, Jesse. So you've been able to have a good environment to let your music cultivate and develop.
Yes, definitely.
And you guys are working on what is now your new album, am I correct? And you've put out how many albums, how many EPs? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we put out our debut album, Nobody Believes Me, at the start of 2020. It's a great timing. But
perfect time. Everybody was discovering new work, you know. This was a good time for people to put stuff out because a lot of eyes on the screens.
I get it. Well, the thing is, we put it out literally right at the start of 2020 before the pandemic, so it wasn't yet when everyone was online, and then it hit. So we couldn't sell a lot of like physical product at like shows or whatever.
That's true.
Yeah, despite that, we still did have a, you know, very good reception that, again, very grateful for.
Well, then, in many ways, you guys must have been maybe a little discouraged because when the pandemic happened, it was like we were ready for shows, we were ready to go places, and it was like doors closed, gates closed, and everybody, I spoke to a lot of musicians during the pandemic, and they were just, you know, in the garage, in the laboratory, cooking. What else can you do?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what we did, and that's why, we already have during quarantine, we recorded 2 demos of like new songs, and those demos are actually currently Bandcamp exclusive. So if you want to hear them, you can go to our Bandcamp, and they're there. They're free to download. But we did that, and yeah, we kept writing, and we wrote more than enough for a second album. And we are currently preparing to record that second album. We're going into the studio in February. We're aiming to have it out, like, we don't have an exact date yet, but probably sometime like spring this year.
Very nice. Very nice.
But yeah, I'm very excited for that second album. We're pushing ourselves, you know, like way harder. Uh, I'm really proud of it. I'm excited for people to hear it.
What are you guys learning performing as a group? You know, you are the original member. It's circulated. At the end of the day, it comes down to you, right, Jesse? You're figuring out who fits well with the band. Has it been a constant struggle for you to, you know, find these musicians that you can just vibe with, and you know we can. That's fine, Jesse. No, you know, have you been able to?
Yeah, so, it has been a struggle. I mean, you know, it's always to an extent a struggle to find like the perfect fit. Actually, our bassist just had to move, so we're currently out of bassist, so we're having to struggle again. But yeah, I mean, it is difficult, but I mean, you know, you just go to local shows, you know, talk around. Yeah, like, but both the drummer and guitarist in the band currently, I met them at Diabology shows, like shows that I played with like the older lineup. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not easy, but I mean, you know, you just go around, you know, go to different shows and stuff. You'll, you know, find someone eventually.
Nice, man. Hey, well, that's even better because you find people who want to be in your band. They'll work with you. You know, sometimes that's what you want, right? You know, you want to. Sometimes everybody has a different thing in mind. You have a lot of people who want their own frontman thing, and sometimes that's what you need. Guys who know they've seen it. They've seen what you're putting together, and they're like, "I see that. Let's work with that. Let's do that." So that's awesome. So, new album, you guys are ready. What did you learn? What have you learned after the first album that you will be doing differently, more strategically for the next one to make sure that this one gets the right buzz?
Oh God! I mean, there's so much. Of course, we learned a lot, you know, in the process of like marketing and whatever. So that's definitely tighter. As for the actual like recording, it's a funny story actually, because with the first album, we recorded the whole thing, but we didn't, you know, it was our first time recording an album. We didn't really know what we were doing. So we got to like almost the end, and then we were like, these are too fast and they are not tight enough. And we basically had to like scrap the album and do it all over again. So this time we're actually doing demo sessions in my living room instead of, you know, doing demo sessions in the studio accidentally.
Yes, that's smart because then there's less fiddling around. You guys know what to do. It's good.
Yeah, no, exactly. Um, and as for like the music itself, a big criticism we got on the first one was that it was a little bit too eclectic because we do like to blend a lot of genre, like, you know, subgenres, and we still do. I think it's a great way. I mean, you know, how are you gonna, you know, when everything's been done, I think that the best way is to kind of just find new combinations of things, you know.
But you guys sound great. It sounds great. You got a good sound going.
Yeah, well, thank you. But definitely with the first album, there was us, you know, we were experimenting a lot with different genres, and we kind of reached into like punk and stuff. And I would say with this one, although we're still blending subgenres, I would say it is a little bit tighter. It's not quite so eclectic with the blend. So yeah, I'm really hoping people, you know, find it to be a more consistently, you know, heavy, thrashy, groovy experience.
Do you think that's natural for you just as your progression as a musician? Do you find that the reason the music has gone in that direction is because you as well? It's you know, you're sort of changing. It's still in the thrash genre, but you're doing it a little bit different. Is that your progression just as a musician? Where do you credit that to?
Yeah, no, I would say it's exactly that. Yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, you know, this is what the critics said, but like honestly, like almost half of the songs on this album we had written before we even like released the first one. So it's not like we're just, you know, like changing for the critics. I would say this is definitely like a natural progression of like, you know, this is what really feels right. This is what like I felt like really, you know, worked on the first album, you know. I'd say this, Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jesse. Go ahead, Jesse.
I was just gonna say, I feel like this is definitely the album that like I want to make. Like, if it wasn't my album, I would want to, buy it. I would want to hear it.
Yes, that's exactly what you want to do when making music. How important, Jesse, do you think it is to listen to the critics? How important is it to take that in? How much should people take into consideration? How much should people ignore, right? Sometimes it's better to ignore this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't think it's good to just, totally ignore all criticism, because, I mean, we have gotten a lot of good constructive criticism, like I said, I mean, there are things people criticize that I would say we're, working on in the second album. But at the same time, you can't get too caught up in it. Like, we've gotten a bunch of things that are like conflicting reviews, or like for example, people will hear one song, like for example, there was one time we have Deicide, and it's like it's a really like straightforward thrashy song, and not all our songs are like that. We have songs that branch out into this and that, but we got a couple of comments from people who just heard that song who are like, this is so simple, you guys have to try using different chords and stuff. And it's like, well, if you just listen to a different one of our songs, you'll get that. So, I mean, there definitely is, to a certain extent, it's people's opinions, and like they're, like a narrow scope and whatever. So you definitely can't, take like every last thing to heart. But I would definitely say, like, especially if you see, certain criticisms being repeated over and over, then there is definitely some value in, listening and learning from it.
Right. I guess you're definitely right. Some criticism is good, but then the rest of it you ignore, and you just get to the laboratory, and you just get better. Because even giving any of that stuff attention after the first time, I mean, that sometimes it's out of jealousy, sometimes it's complete. Even if they're right, I mean, you could pick apart some of the best stuff ever, and imperfection is really some of the best material, especially in music. So you never know. Absolutely. Well, very nice, Jesse. So the album, when do you think it's going to be out? Let's talk about music videos. What's next for you? What can we expect? What can the fans expect for you leading into the next year?
Yeah, so like I said, we're recording in February. We don't have an exact date yet, but we're aiming for like spring, maybe like early summer at the latest. But yeah, we'll be, teasing it. We'll be like releasing singles leading up to it, of course. You mentioned, music videos. That's actually something I really need to start conceptualizing. But we do actually have one music video already out, if anyone wants to check it out, for the first album. It's called Seas of Eternity. It's our only music video so far, but we definitely will be doing more for the upcoming album. And I mean, just basically just, follow us on social media. We'll be teasing stuff, releasing stuff, plenty of cool stuff coming up. So
how can people find you, Jesse, the band? How can they link up with you guys?
We're on pretty much every social media as Diabology Band, except Twitter. On Twitter, someone stole our account, and it's Diabology 8 on Twitter, number 8. But yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, pretty much everywhere.
Very nice. All right, Jesse, thanks a lot for jumping onto the show today, talking to us about Diabology, the band, its origins, what you guys have brought into fruition, and it's really exciting to hear about you guys, and it's exciting to see where you guys go next. So let's catch up again in the future and see what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to, come back on when the album's like out or ready or whatever. And yeah, again, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, Jesse. Same to you. Have a great rest of your day, Jesse. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, Jesse. We are good from there. Thanks a lot, man. That was a great episode. Bye.